Hey, welcome back, everyone. I'm Dr. Lon Schiffbauer, and today we're talking about how to encourage innovation among your team members. You have a good, solid team, they're performing. Now, how can you take it to the next level and encourage and foster innovation? That's what we're going to discuss today. So, first of all, I want to calibrate something. Quite often, when we think of innovation, we tend to think of things you plug in. It runs on a battery, right? So we think of technology, anything technology, that's innovation. Truth is, innovation is not nearly that constrained, and it's also not nearly that sexy, not all the time anyway. Okay, we want to understand that we innovate in every facet of business. So, for example, we've got new products, designs, functionality. Okay, that's great. But we also have new manufacturing methods or service delivery models. How about business processes or even organizational structures? There are many, many ways in which we can innovate. Now, yes, sometimes innovation is radical and amazing and makes the front page of the Wall Street Journal, but oftentimes it's incremental and quiet and in the background. And that's really where the true magic happens. Okay, so how are we going to do this today? Well, first of all, we're going to discuss 6 rules of innovation, rules that we need to follow if we are going to be successful in fostering innovation among our team members. Next, we're going to talk about 4 actual things you can do in the workplace to encourage innovation. All right, so let's start with these 6 rules of innovation. Rule number 1, strong support from the top is absolutely necessary if we are going to give our employees the room to innovate. Truth is, innovation means experimentation and kind of working in ambiguity and trying things. And most of the time when we try things in ambiguity, they fail. In other words, innovation is all about giving people the room to make mistakes. So you need to have strong support from the top. Clear direction from the top of the organization permeates throughout the entire organization to motivate, support, and reward activities that encourage innovation as well as the innovations themselves. You know, how many times have you had a fantastic idea and you've taken it before your management and they go, meh, and it's like, dude, seriously, this can work. We want to encourage the innovations as well. Rule number 2, it needs to really be part of the company culture or the culture of your particular organization or your team. Yes, culture is everywhere and it is distinct from company, department, organization, team, right? So you want to make sure that at least within your team, that purview over which you have some level of influence, that innovation is a cultural norm. This requires a culture that is open to questioning assumptions and to debating alternatives to the current approach to business. So, innovation necessarily means challenging the status quo. You can't have innovation unless you are prepared to challenge the status quo. Well, an organization or a culture that fights against challenges to its status quo, to its raison d'etre, to the way we've always done business, that sort of organization is not going to be able to foster innovation among its team members. Okay, so let's continue on. So, staying on the idea of part of the company culture, innovation is not a rabbit you pull from a hat on special occasions. It must be integral to the way a company or an organization or a team operates every day. So, it's not just this sort of random skill set that, oh, guys, I think we kind of need to be innovative, right? No, it is the way the employees think. It's the way they problem solve. It's the way they analyze a problem and look at it. It is the way that they approach their job day in and day out, not just something that you say, okay, today we need to be innovative. Okay, number 3, Manage creativity and value capture. All right, so what does this mean? Well, creativity is really awesome, right? And well done, creativity, well done, whatever. Creativity is unfettered. It is unconstrained. Now, yeah, there are some rules around creativity, and there's different types of creativity, but just for the sake of this discussion, let's just agree that creativity is an unfettered process. On the other hand, value capture says, that looks great. How can I make money from it? How can we convert that into something that can be monetized? Creativity without the ability to translate it into profits is unprofitable and unsustainable. Profits without creativity is rewarding, but only works in the short term. Okay, so what do I mean by this? Well, if you have a really innovative, creative team, that is fantastic. But if you cannot find a way to monetize this, to convert that into profits, well, then the creativity was fun, but it's unprofitable. On the other hand, if you do not have creativity among your team, if you do not have innovation, sure, you'll make some money now in the short term, but the market is ever changing. And if you cannot innovate along with the market, you will fall away from the pack. So you really need both sides of the equation. Okay, so continuing on, another rule, number 4 of innovation, is you need to be able to neutralize organizational antibodies. What in the world does this mean? Well, innovation necessitates change. Innovation totally necessitates change, and change stimulates explicit routines and cultural norms that act to block or negate change. So, as we mentioned before, organizations, they're kind of a static thing. You might think that your organization is agile and nimble and so on and so forth, but the truth of the matter is, we really like the status quo. We like things that work, and if it's broke, don't fix it, and so on and so forth. And so when change comes about, when we challenge the status quo, as we mentioned before, it is inevitable that organizational antibodies will push against that change. They won't even really explore the possibility that there's a really good upside to this. The immediate knee-jerk reaction, the reflex, is to resist the change. So you need to be able to persuade them, to look at them, to help them look at the data and understand the data. Only then will they be able to kind of overcome this natural urge to resist and look at the possibilities before them. So that's number 4. Number 5 is you need to be able to look beyond your own walls. A lot of organizations, and I have worked for these organizations, a lot of organizations think our way is the perfect way. We do it better than anybody else. There's no point in looking to others as an example because, well, we have the best known methods, BKMs. If you understand BKM, you know who I'm talking to, right? So, well, what are we talking about here? Innovation thrives best when it includes people and knowledge from both inside and outside the organization. A successful organization excels at fusing its internal resources with external resources. All right, so simply put, don't just assume that your way is the only way. Bring some diversity of thought. Bring some different perspectives. Look at how others have solved the same or similar problems and bring that learning to your own organization. Okay, so then that brings us to number 6. There we go, number 6. Hey, you know what? As with anything else, what is measured gets done, what is rewarded gets done. And that is the same thing when it comes to innovation. What gets measured gets done, what gets rewarded gets done. Innovation is no exception. You will never achieve the level of innovation that you need if people do not have proper rewards. So Of course, you need to make sure that folks feel free to innovate, which read into this, free to make mistakes without, retaliation or anything like that. So not only do they need to feel free to innovate, but they also need to be rewarded, to be encouraged, and to be acknowledged for the innovation they do bring to the organization. Okay, so those were the 6 rules of innovation. And one of these days that button's going to work. There we go. So now what I want to do is look at 4 things you can actually do in your organization. Now, I want to be clear. These are proven practices. These are things that other organizations have done and they have worked. However, they also aligned with those organizations' cultures, right? So different cultures can accommodate different processes, different approaches, different practices when it comes to actual day-to-day practices. So don't think, oh, this will totally work or it won't work or anything like that. These are proven practices, but proven in organizations in which these practices were allowed to thrive. So take it for what it's worth. See if there's anything that would work for your organization. All right, so number 1, bring about the idea of successful failures, okay? So here's the thing. I've talked about in previous videos this loathing I have for the idea that failure is bad. Failure is not bad. Failure is an inevitable part of the learning process, of the development process, of the growth process, of eternal progression. You name it, failure is part of it. And so the moment you demonize failure, that's the moment that you tell people, stop growing, stop progressing, stop improving. Okay? So what we need to do is reframe our thinking around failure. In this case, a failure is an implemented program that failed to catch on. So let's say you invented something, you developed a process, you put in place a program, and it failed to catch on. Okay, fine, but celebrate these innovations nevertheless, right? Even though it didn't work, celebrate it. Celebrate the implementation. Celebrate what did work. Celebrate the learning that came about from implementing this. Celebrate the work that went into it. Celebrate the chance and the informed risk-taking that was exercised to put this program in place. Now, here's the biggie though. It also acts as a springboard for future ideas. So listen, no amazing, incredible idea ever came from zero, just from the ether, right? We all stand on the shoulders of giants, and every idea we have, every process, every implementation, every technology is built upon something else. Now, just because something failed doesn't mean there's something really solid there that we can build upon. History is replete with examples of folks who have taken something that didn't work on the outset, but then were able to convert it, change it, improve it, tweak it to be something really quite incredible. However, if we demonize the failures and sweep them under the rug, that's what you do with stuff under rugs. You sweep them under the rug, then nobody's going to talk about it. Nobody wants to be associated with it. Nobody wants to be tainted by touching this past failure. They're going to just leave all those learnings there and not touch them. That's bad, right? So we want to treat every implementation, every project, every idea, even if it fails, as a success. That is a successful failure. Okay, number 2. Stop referring to things as problems. Refer to them as glitches. It's a glitch, right? We can make it better, right? Now, there's a story that actually came from a hotel where, quite a five-star hotel chain, where the big old VP came to the hotel and said, okay, talk to all the staff, right? And we're talking the lowly staff, right? The folks who are on the front line. He doesn't want to talk to the middle management. They're just going to be yes people. I exaggerate, but you see what I'm saying. So he's talking to the service staff, and he says, "So tell me about the problems you're running into." And one of the people said, "Well, you know what? We're working 6 problems right now." And the VP's like, "Wait, wait, wait, wait. This hotel has 280 rooms, fully booked with high-end customers, and you're saying there's only 6 problems? I think you guys can do better. When you come back, I want to hear about 15 problems." Now, his logic was, listen, I know the problems are out there. Even if they're not horrible, horrible problems, there are better ways that we can serve our guests. Our guests, these are high dollar people, right? They want to be, taken care of, okay? And so if folks are like, "Oh, everything's fine, there's just 6 issues we're addressing," he's like, "No, no, no, I want you to dig more. I want you to find more ways that we are failing to meet their expectations, because it is only by calling out instances in which we are failing to meet their expectations can we hope to then bridge that and meet their expectation." So this guy understood that the secret to providing better service was understanding in what ways are we currently lacking. Furthermore, it created a safe environment for reporting glitches, right? And they didn't call them problems, they called them glitches, because if people are afraid to bring problems to the boss, they're not going to bring problems to the boss. On the other hand, if they are encouraged and rewarded for bringing problems, they are going to bring problems. This isn't brain surgery, people. We want to figure out what's out there and what can we improve, because that's when innovation starts to kick in. People will cease to report them if they are frowned upon or punished. Simple, right? Not complicated. Okay, number 3. Adopt just do it ideas. So here's the thing. A lot of organizations say, hey, if you have an idea, you have to first report it to your, manager, who then reports it to the director, who then reports it to the VP, and they put together this focus group, and they kind of mull it over, and they see if they have budget, and oh my gosh, ain't no better way for an idea to die, right? So what this one organization did is they put together what they called no-brainer ideas that can be executed quickly and without excessive supervision, all right? So the idea is, hey, if it's a simple idea, you can do it quickly, and it's not super expensive. They gave a dollar amount. You can just do it. Don't ask for permission. Just do it. Of course, you want to understand what your level of risk is. So what impact, how much, and how would it affect other organizations and so forth. However, this organization was willing to err on the side of possibly messing up the waters versus keeping everything exactly status quo because we're afraid of making any changes at all. So that's the just do it idea. Okay. Number 4, I lose count of my fingers. Does that ever happen to you? Number 4, an idea wall. I know this one's kind of scary. I'll just tell you right off. I've tried to sell this many times to organizations with whom I consult, and nobody has bit at the idea wall yet. But it worked in one organization. Okay. Ideas are written on the wall in the main area, lots of color and pictures, as well as celebrations of successful ideas. So the idea, and maybe I need to find a wall to write this on, right? Pull over my whiteboard. The idea is, as everybody writes ideas on the walls and they see these ideas, you're creating this critical mass of creativity. Critical mass of creativity. Say that 10 times fast. So you've got these folks looking at ideas and kind of modifying them and saying, hey, this is a good one. And folks can kind of chime in on them in this sort of brainstorm wall. And that's a way for ideas to bubble up, percolate, be, modified and so forth, so that eventually you can take something to management and say, hey, this idea really seems to be gaining traction in the idea wall. We ought to take a look at it. Now, the reason I've had a hard time selling it to people in the past is they're afraid of trolls, right? Oh, this is a stupid idea, so on and so forth. It all depends on the culture of your organization. If your culture is one that would, degrade or humiliate or sort of shame an idea that for some reason or another they disagree with, don't do this. But then work on your culture, right? So, in any case, there you go. So, there you go. You now have a competitive advantage because you have a better understanding of what facilitates innovation in an organizational team, and you even have some ideas on what you can implement in your own teams. All right, so there you go. Thanks a lot for joining, and until we talk again, have a fantastic day.